Many, when that 17 gets in, the animal blows up.
Wow.
Yes, I do. You need one? Yes, it's on. Thank you. The thing is on. All right. 1 minute. Gotta wait for everything to turn on. All right, here we go. We'll call the meeting to order. And Jeff will do the invocation.
Let's pray. Father, we pause to thank you for this beautiful day, including the rain. We thank you also for the opportunity to serve the citizens of this community. I ask that as the council and members present this evening look at the agenda, I ask that we have humble hearts and sharp minds. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. All right, let's move into the approval of the minutes from July 2nd.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. I'd like to welcome all our visitors tonight. And Lynn, we'll move into reports. Any comments on the investment report?
The two or it was one investment. Money was invested on 627, $2 million. I think $1 million was from the general fund and $1 million was from the redevelopment. So we combined those together to get a nice rate of 2.61.
Yep, it's going up.
And we decided to go for a shorter period of time because I was advised that the interest rates would probably be going up between now and
Right.
then.
All right. Any questions on the investments? Okay. You've also presented the June fund report.
Yes, all the funds should have a little bit more in them than last month because we had our distribution at the end of June for the property tax settlement or the other settlements.
Okay. So this will give you a little mid-year snapshot of 6 months worth of disbursements and revenues. All right, very good. I had down here Fire Station number 3 update, Chief Wilson. I just got a text from him. He's home not feeling well. The station number 3 will be probably ready for an open house sometime in August or September. They're running into a few usual delays finishing up. So the last fire territory meeting, he assured everyone that that fire station will be online here probably in late August or early September. So we'll keep you posted that way. All right. No unfinished business. Let's go into new business. Tonight is our public hearing for ordinance 2018-0703. This is approving an additional appropriation for the MVH fund. Jeff, you want to come up and give some information on that? While he's coming up, right now, as of January 1st, there was a balance of about $1.5 million in the MVH fund. And going through everything, revenue this year and what we have potentially planned on spending, it'll stay about the same. And I talked to Jeff with the revenues going up. I'd ask him to potentially put some more projects on the docket this year. We've also had some community crossings projects that we were approved and some that we weren't. So this will help fill in some of the gaps there. So essentially what we're doing is asking for an additional appropriation out of the MVH fund with a balance of about $1.5 million, asking for $300,000 to do some more projects this year. Jeff?
agree. Yep, no, I mean, that's actually something I've been talking to Joe about since probably March. We had a pretty rough first half of this year in the winter. So we knew some additional projects were gonna have to come up anyway, so I've been talking to him about doing additional funding to help cover some of that stuff. So really, that's what a lot of this is covering. We had applied for crossing grant last year. We got approved for the Clark Colfax Street project, which is going on now. Hot Mix went on today. Holiday, Pontiac, and Main Street have already been completed except for grass seed. Those have been done. So those are the projects we were awarded for this year. So we still had crack seal, rejuvenator, micro seal, all the things that actually I think I'd shown all the maps before what I was presenting to go for last year for that same project. And so I'm taking those projects we didn't get awarded, and I'm just getting money to help finish some of those out, plus the additional ones that were damaged from this winter. An example of that would be 200 South, where the new fire station's going, is in very bad shape. So that'll be one of those projects that wouldn't have been a part of that funding through the Community Crossings grant that kind of came up over winter, as well as 225 East. Would be another one of those that we're looking at that were outside of that scope. Most everything else will be underneath that umbrella of projects that have already been discussed through our PACER rating plan that we had done. So we're going to follow through with that.
All right, questions?
Yeah, just one question. Is it possible that we could get kind of just a brief summary of the projects that are for until the end of the year? Thank you.
I would, is there some way that you have any kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say this in a way that makes it sound wrong. I'd like to see some evidence of progress that we've made in making our streets last longer, I guess. I know we put together a whole program, and that's good. I know we're making progress, and we're taking the steps. It'd be kind of nice to know, how that's doing. Are we getting the bang for our buck that we thought we would?
So as initially, we talked about the whole process of changing from a mill and pave only process, which you cannot spend your weight out of, to go into a pavement preservation program. I told you initially 5 years would be the soonest you're going to see your return, or 2 years in. Now, I think because of Community Crossings grant money, we've covered a lot of roads, so our road network grade is going to be better than it was. But to say that doing the rejuvenation or doing a micro seal that's supposed to last 7 years, and last year was our first year, is it going to last us 7 years? I don't know. We're not 7 years yet. It's lasted other 7 years. Or will it last us? I don't know. We'll do in the rejuvenator make that road balance out that extra 5 years. For everyone else it has, for us, we're 2 years in. I don't know. So until you've played that life cycle out and you've bought in that program, until you've done those regular oil changes on your car for 100,000 miles versus somebody who doesn't, you don't know for sure how long it's going to take you. The studies have shown, and what other people have done, we're doing what has been proven to make our road network get better over time. But if you don't give it the over time part, we'll never know.
So you figure it'll take 5 to 7 years total before we really have a good handle on it?
When we do our PACER ratings this fall, which I hope to have had them done by now, you're going to see our road network is better than it was. Just because of the work we've done. We did almost $2 million worth of work last year because of Community Crossing. So, that's an instant shot in the arm. But to sit there and say, will the preservation techniques that we use prove out? I can't tell you that until the time comes for that to prove out.
Until we've given them a good, fair
absolutely.
chance.
Same way with your hot mix. Hot mix used to last 15, 20 years. That was the design life. Now we're getting 6. They've changed the design mixes. There's a lot more oil in them now. We're hoping to get back up to 10. So it goes that way even with hot mix to preservation things. You have to give it time to see how it plays out. Everything that we're doing is in line with what others have done and have been doing with the Pavement Preservation Association, which is out of Michigan. Federal Highways trying to go that way, pushing funds that direction for preservation. Everything we're doing is falling in line with what others are seeing over time with returns on their investment. So we just have to stay with it.
And Jeff made a good point. The NDOT requires that we do these annual surveys of our roads every I think 2 years. With this past winter, you know, the pacer ratings that we did 2 years ago are going to be different this year. But it also gives him an opportunity to rate those roads that we've treated relative to before they were treated, and that should show some improvement. But NDOT is now requiring that this money that they're matching and spending, there has to be some objective measurement in not only of the priority, but also the potential progress that's being made. So I think you said last year we did 30-some road miles?
We almost did a third of our road network. We touched in some way through crack sealing, micro sealing, paving. We did almost a third of our road network with some sort of treatment.
Questions?
You know, you always get doubters.
Sure.
You know, people think you're just throwing money away. And it'd be nice to have some of that objective evidence, and I know we just have to be a little bit patient.
So I can give you tons of
Good at sometimes.
evidence from all over Indiana. We can go across the United States. There's tons of studies. You can just type in micro sealing, type in rejuvenators. You can read for hours on end until you fall asleep on all the studies that have been done by Federal Highway, outside of Federal Highway, from Indiana, from NDOT. So there's a lot of research out there to say, you know, people are a little bit leery about it. And even some got brought up that the micro seal maybe wasn't it wasn't hot mix. Well, of course it isn't. Nothing's like hot mix. But at the same time, hot mix has its own failures, has its own weaknesses. And we've shown many photos and pictures of that. So people have to become educated on the materials that are being used, what to expect, because you don't want to over-expect out of a product. And at the same time, you shouldn't under-expect out of a product. So some of that becomes education, which I tried to do some of that last year. I mean, and if you guys are willing to come, and I've invited many of you many times to come and sit in my office and we'll go through this. Come out to the job sites during the winter. Come hop in a truck. I'll show you what we do. Joe's been there. He's seen it. He's rode with us. When you go through and you question either the summer maintenance, winter maintenance activities we do, come spend time. And that's the only way. There's only so much I can say to teach. You know, it kind of falls on deaf ears. Come out and see what we do, see how we do it. Why do we do what we do? Why don't we do certain processes where you think it should be done? I can show you why. Quite a few years ago, 2-3 years ago, we did crack sealing on Center Street. Everybody said, there's no issues with that road, until I crack sealed it. And there's lines everywhere. So you're driving in your car, you don't see it. Until you get out and put your boots on the ground, you walk through, you see what the conditions really are. You miss all that stuff. So, you know, spending time, and I know that's not your job, that's my job to do. If you have those concerns, I'll take the time. We'll drive around all day and try to help show you and teach you why we do what we do, why we don't do what we do. And then sometimes when we expect something and it fails. Sometimes we know why, sometimes we don't.
Well, I want to thank you for what you've done as far as instituting and putting in a maintenance type program. I mean, that's very, very important in whatever we do. Just a thought I had. And I may take you up on that truck ride.
Have you addressed the issue specifically the Fairlane Drive, with the stones being in the yards and the water pooling?
We went and swept Fairlane Drive, which was no different than even a hot mix road, which I showed you pictures of, as well as the homeowner. We showed you that they're exactly the same conditions after one winter, after the same period of time. They were exactly the same. We had the contractor out, we reviewed the project, we looked at the project. It does meet state specs.
Where did all the stones get in their yard?
That is called shedding, which was the same thing that I showed you on Husky Trail that occurred. That's normal. When you drag a chunk of iron all winter long that weighs 2,000 pounds or more, it's going to shed. You lose your fines is what that's called. And it's part of the process. If we didn't plow, you wouldn't see it probably. You'll see a little bit after paving, but not very much. When you drag that chunk of iron around all winter long, it's going to take its toll. We had our plows on almost from January 1 until early April. The year before, I had them on one time. So it all depends on the year and what happens. But yeah, that's one thing. We only had one person, I think that you had mentioned, and I think he's in the back row, that actually had an issue. We said that there was multiple ones. I couldn't find him. We did talk to one guy. We tried to address those, his concerns. Tried to point him in the direction, I think, of where he can look at some stuff. Yep. So I tried to do everything I could to help educate.
I appreciate that, Jeff.
I think the other thing is that as consumers are paying extra tax at the gas pumps, starting July 1st, they're wanting to see their roads being improved. And I know that it's a fine balance between keeping enough money in there that we have money for a reserve when we have a street collapse or whatever, and deciding how or we need equipment and deciding what road miles to spend. So I appreciate you being proactive in getting on this and spending some of that money, because I think our citizens deserve to see their roads improving, if they're paying more money. And like you said, a lot of the average citizen doesn't see what you're doing all the time to fill the cracks and do, the little things, and they just see the big projects. And so I think as many road miles as we can make, durable and standing up to time are important for our citizens to see. As they're paying higher taxes, they want to see more results from their money. So I know you have a fine balancing act, and I appreciate what you're trying to do, you and the mayor, to figure out how much do we leave and how much do we spend. And so I think these things are important for people to think about.
And as you've been seeing with our storm and sewer projects that's been going on, there's a lot of stuff underneath what you see. And it's in very failing condition. We've seen with our sewer lines. That's held quite a few projects back that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But we can't. Buffalo Street project, one of those, we want to do Fort Wayne Street. Fort Wayne, we all know is horrible.
Yeah.
But why go pay Fort Wayne when the equipment comes in to do Buffalo, it tears it up? Why would we invest $100,000 to do that? So there is a method, say, to some of the badness, per se. But if people will be patient, I think they get a beautiful product that will last a long time. It's just like your road. Your catch basins are not the gutters where they're at. We're going to come in and move those out. We're going to micro-seal that road. That's the plan. But if we just went and micro-sealed first off, you'd never been happy because the water would still stay in the road. So there's a process you have to go through, and sometimes it's ugly, sometimes it takes longer than we want. But hopefully in the end, it gives us a good, longer lasting product than just an immediate fix. So.
Another resource that I might offer to the council, Jeff goes to road school over at Purdue. LTAP and Purdue put on road school, and this is where these new techniques and new materials are discussed. And I would be happy to send a representative from the council when that happens to sit in and go to some of these classes and understand how road technology is changing because of the dollars and because of the network of roads that are failing and the underfunding. There's very novel ways, new materials and new methods of taking care of these roads, and as well as even plowing the roads. So, Jeff, when is road school? It was just, it's usually in the spring. So keep that in mind.
And there's a recap of it in your mailboxes if you want to check the magazine out that you got.
And the newsletters and everything are very helpful. I try to read through
Yeah.
those. And
One thing to take into account too, and I think Jeremy could attest to this probably, is the rules with ADA have changed, even how pavement is done. Where you used to be able to go and just mill and pave a road. If that road now has sidewalks that touch that, I'm required to also redo all the sidewalks. When you do that, not all the sidewalks, but all the approaches. When you do that, each one of those approaches has to be designed. So a cost that initially was, let's go mill and fill for $100,000 a mile, we're gonna almost double that price because you have engineering involved, you have all the sidewalks that maybe you just did 3 years ago because you need to do those sidewalk crossings. But now the spec changes every 6 to 8 months or sooner. It changes so fast that you could literally have something you put in last year to fix a sidewalk issue. When the road comes time to be paved, now you have to rip all those out you just did. And it's messy. And that's why some of these take longer. And that's why some of these preservation techniques are a little more advantageous, because I don't have to do that ADA fix at the moment because it isn't a building. So, and not that it isn't ADA compliant, but I don't necessarily have to go and rip it all back out.
Any more questions with regards to the additional appropriation before I open this up to the public? Any questions of Jeff? All right. So I'll open up the discussion to the public for a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on behalf of the petition, of the request for an additional appropriation? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone wishing to speak against the petition? Anyone wishing to speak against the petition? Okay. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing portion of the meeting and take it back to the council. Jeff, any final comments or questions of Jeff before we decide? Lynn, you might suggest the process of the additional appropriation and how that works.
Well, after it's approved, you can either, if it's an anonymous vote tonight, you can go ahead and suspend the rules and do the second reading tonight, and then I'll send it into the DLGF for their approval, and they have like 15 days to respond back to that request.
And if you don't wish to suspend the rules, and certainly we can hear the second reading at the next meeting. So there's no hurry to do this.
Yeah, I don't think Jeff's under a huge time factor on this
No.
one.
All right, any further comments or questions?
I move we approve 0703.
Okay, motion been made. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Cindy. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Let the minutes reflect it passed 7-0 on first reading. I would assume you probably want to wait till next meeting unless there's a motion to suspend the rules. All right, that's what we'll do. Thank you.
So
All
the
right.
second reading will be, what day is our first meeting?
August 2nd, does that sound right?
I don't have my calendar.
No, it's the...
August
actually
6th.
the 6th.
Okay,
August 6th.
all right.
All right. Item number 2 under new business. This is a transfer from the Building and Plan Department in the redevelopment allocation. Jeremy?
Yes, I'm requesting to transfer $106,000 from capital outlays and redevelopment allocation to professional services and redevelopment allocation for the final plaza design for the Buffalo Street project. This went before the redevelopment commission last Monday, and they approved doing so, so it's here for your approval tonight.
Jeremy, you might talk a little bit about the funding of the plaza portion of the project and the portion that's reimbursable and so forth.
Yeah, so obviously the Buffalo Street project itself is under construction now. Once it's complete, we'll get 60% of the RDA money from regional cities reimbursed to us. That money will then be used to bid out the plaza project in the spring of, or early 2019 for construction of the plaza in 2019. So we're in the process of finishing that design so we can bid it out late this year, early next year. Once we've been reimbursed the RDA money from regional cities, we'll use those funds to build the plaza and then submit for our final reimbursement of the remaining 40% of those funds.
Does the plaza still look like it did a couple months ago with like some seating and brickwork and?
Yeah, all the elements are still there. We're stretching it out a little bit, making it a little bit more linear than what probably the original kind of sketch is shown.
Okay.
But all the elements we're still going to have a water feature, seating, kind of, I won't call it a pier, but kind of an overlook for interaction with the water and sidewalks, and then an art piece. And so all the elements, a new gazebo that will go out where it used to be like a little
the pump station.
Yeah,
or-
so a lot of, all the elements are still there. It's stretched out a little bit to try to accommodate all those elements along that linear edge along Buffalo Street and the lake, but all the elements are still the same.
And it'll still be ADA accessible.
Everything will still be ADA accessible.
Further questions?
I'll make a motion that we pass 2018-0701.
Is there a second? Second by Mike. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, do you wish to suspend the rules? Or would you prefer to go another meeting before you finalize second vote?
We have our Central Park hearing tomorrow. It would be helpful if we could suspend the rules so that we know that this is moving forward, but it's not necessary, that it would be a helpful addition to the meeting tomorrow night. I don't know, but if the council feels uneasy about it, that's fine too, but
Jeremy, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, obviously, if it's your pleasure, I would request that we speed it up as much as possible. I'd like to get the contract back in their hands so that we can start that design work. We're under the timeline, and we've been under that timeline since we signed the RDA agreement to complete the projects that we said we would complete. Buffalo Street's under construction. We have to have the plaza done in 2019. It has to be done before 2020. So it's my goal to get these done, but certainly, like I said, it's with your pleasure. I mean, if you don't, we can wait a couple more weeks, but either way, we'd like to get rolling on it.
I think you can come with the first reading, and we look forward to passing it if we don't do the emergency. I just uneasy about pushing things through unless it's an emergency.
No motion?
I would make a motion to suspend the rules and keep the project moving forward.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
How many? Raise your hand, please. Passed 4-3. All right, thank you. All right. Okay, item number 3. This is the presentation of the True Hotel Annexation Fiscal Plan that's been presented to you in Board Pack. I trust you've had a chance to review that. It discusses the costs of the city to annex this piece of property into the city. Jeremy?
Yes, per the state statute, there's a lot of paper that doesn't say a whole lot other than there's not much cost to the city and there's no fiscal impact to the other taxing agencies because this property is commercial and it's the commercial cap's 3%, our tax rate's under the 3%. So there's really no tax impact to the other taxing agencies. The fiscal plan goes through the different elements of our service. Since it's already in the fire territory service, there's really no cost for us to continue servicing that. The roadway that this property gets ingress and egress off is already in the city limits and maintained by us. There's no sanitary sewers already constructed in there. So there's really no fiscal impact on the city for this annexation based on the various elements that we've already provided service to the surrounding properties. So it's a pretty simple voluntary annexation and will be used by the petitioners for True Hotel to build their new hotel on south of where the Holiday Inn Express is being located. There is a map that shows the two pieces in here if you still have any questions about where that annexation is. This is a public hearing. And then the ordinance would presumably be presented to you at the following council meeting.
All right, any questions of Jeremy from the council on what this involves, properties involved? Questions, comments? Okay. I will open this up then to the public. This is a matter of a public hearing, this annexation request. And I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in support of or on behalf of the petition or petitioner.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Hughes, project civil engineer for GH of Warsaw, the petitioner. I have some exhibits showing the proposed site plan. They're pretty much the same I showed you before. As Jeremy mentioned, the property's about 4/10 of an acre immediately adjacent to the city limits in the Center Crest subdivision. And so there's almost no impact, negative impact to the city, but strictly a positive impact by adding this property so that it can be developed commercially as a new hotel. I'd be happy to talk with you about any questions you have on the project or on the proposal.
Questions? All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in support of or on behalf of the petition or petitioner? Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the petitioner, or, excuse me, the petition, not the petitioner? Again, this is a public hearing. If there are any concerns or opposition to the petition, you're certainly welcome to approach the podium. Okay, anyone? All right. Hearing none, thank you for your comments. I'll close the public hearing portion and throw this back to the council to consider Resolution 2018-0702, which is the adoption of the written fiscal plan that, again, Jeremy has just talked about and you all have had a chance to look at.
Jeremy, when I read this, I don't see where it comes with a thumbs up or a thumbs down from your department. What's your recommendation on this?
Obviously, my recommendation is the fiscal plan itself, the resolution. The fiscal plan and the resolution is just to lay out the details of what the impact on the city is, so it's not really a recommendation. The ordinance that you approve at the next council meeting will be what activates or starts that annexation to taking place. This is just the first step. You could still technically not approve the annexation. The resolution itself for the fiscal plan is just giving you all the information.
Jeremy, this is protocol, right?
Yes.
So you have to do it, yeah, that's what this is.
So this is the public hearing and the resolution are the second step, and the ordinance is the final step. Yeah.
It's the same process we followed on the previous.
Same
Two
process, and then
annexations.
at the next meeting, there will also be the public hearing for the other one that we presented last council meeting. Mitchell and Messmore. Yeah. And there may be some more coming.
Do you need a motion to do that?
Yeah, I'm just asking for if there are any further questions from Jeremy or the petitioner.
I move to approve Resolution 18-0702.
I'd second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. So then the actual petition for annexation will be considered at the next meeting, is that correct? The ordinance. Okay. All right. Council, any further matters to come before the council? Okay. All right. Any visitors' questions or comments? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. Thank you.
Don't run off, kids.
And you will.
Looking at that map, trying to figure out where that.